This video is over trig equations, finding missing angles. So this is your second video in week 2 of our online learning. So let's get started. Okay, so for our first problem, it says find the measure of the indicated angle to the nearest degree. So like we did with all of our other problems, the first thing we have to do is label our triangle, okay? So this is my reference angle, this angle right here, this x. So I'm going to label my triangle based on that. So I really only need to label the sides given, because that will help me determine which trig function to use. So the side that is on the opposite side of my x, that is always going to be my opposite side. So 3 is opposite. And then the side across from my right angle, this side right here, is going to be my hypotenuse. So on the side over here, I'm just going to write down my trig function so we remember. So we know that sine of my angle is opposite over hypotenuse. We know that cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. And tangent is opposite over adjacent. So I have trig functions. I have a triangle that has opposite side and the hypotenuse side. So which of my trig functions only has opposite and hypotenuse? So the only one that has both of them is my sine. So I'm going to use sine. So what I do is I do sine of my angle, which is x, equals my opposite side 3 over 7. So what I'm trying to do is find the measure of x. So I'm going to use what's called an inverse trig function. When what I do is this, I have to switch whatever my fraction is here with my x. So I'm flopping those two. So now what that does is that makes it an inverse function. So I do sine inverse of my fraction, which is 3 over 7, equals x. Okay, so I'm flipping my x and my 3/7 now, and they're in different positions, and I'm added this inverse function. So that's pretty much all you have to do on these. Now we can type it into the calculator. So we're going to go into Desmos, and I've showed you before how to go into the scientific calculator. So now what we do to get the inverse function is that you have to go where it says function, click on that button there, and then we see that our inverse functions show up right here. So during this video, this row is what we're going to use, this second row here with the inverse functions. Don't get them confused with the first row. So I had sine, so I used sine of inverse sine, and then the parentheses already show up there. Now I have to go back to the main to type in my fraction, so I do 3 and I do divided by 7. Shows up like this. You see my answer is 25.37. Okay, so we're going to go back. Okay, so my answer was 25. Oh, sorry. 0.37. It wants us to round to the nearest degree. So we're just going to look at this second number here. Since it is less than 5, that means that this 5, it stays the same. So to the nearest degree, it would be 25 degrees. So this is problem number 2. It says find the measure of the indicated angle to the nearest degree. So we're in the same thing that we did before. First, label our picture. So we have A as our reference angle, our given angle. We're going to label our triangle based on that. So the side opposite the right angle is our hypotenuse. Then the other side next to the angle has to be our adjacent side. So we want to look at our trig functions. Which one uses hypotenuse and adjacent? No, yes, no. So we're going to use cosine. So we do cosine of our angle, which is A, equals the adjacent side, which is 5, over our hypotenuse, which is 6. Now, to find that angle like we did before, we're flipping our angle and our fraction, our ratio. So I do that by using the inverse cosine function. So inverse cosine of fraction 5 over 6 equals angle A. And this is what I type into my calculator. So I'm going back to Desmos, hitting the function button to find my inverse functions. I do cosine inverse of 5, I have to go back to my main screen, 5 divided by 6, and that gives me 33.5. So I know that 33.5 equals A. We want it to the nearest degree, so I'm going to look at this number here. So this is 5 or greater. That means that this number is going to go up 1. So 33 becomes 34. So the measure of angle A is going to be 34 degrees. This last problem, we're going to find the measure of the indicated angle to the nearest degree. Okay, first things first, label our triangle. So we have our given angle right here. The side opposite of that angle is the opposite side. The side across from the right angle is the hypotenuse, but we don't need that side, so we're not going to label it. And so this other side has to be the adjacent side. So I have opposite and adjacent. So I'm going to go over here. Which one of them use opposite and adjacent? No. Sine doesn't use it. Cosine doesn't use it. Tangent uses both opposite and adjacent. So I'm going to use that one. Now I plug in what I need. So tangent of my angle, which is Z, equals my opposite side, which is 29, over my adjacent side, which is 10. Now, using the inverse trig functions, I'm going to swap my angle and my ratio. So I have inverse tangent of 29 over 10 equals my angle Z. Now, plugging this into the calculator, going back to Desmos, click function to get to my inverse functions, use tangent inverse, go back to the main to type in my fraction, so 29 divided by 10, and I get 70.9 as my answer. Okay, so I know that it's 70.9, and I'm rounding to the nearest degree, so I'm looking at this number right here. So this is greater than 5, so that means that this number here is going to go up 1. So from 0 it goes to 1, so the measure of angle Z equals 71 degrees. So that's the end of this second week's video. I hope you are all staying safe at home. Good luck with your practice.